At Southridge Junction, where cars never stopped honking and people never stopped moving, a forgotten woman sat silently. No one knew where Miss Lorraine Whitaker came from. She had just appeared one humid Monday morning, seated on the far edge of a crumbling concrete slab, wearing a faded wrapper soaked in rain and dust. Her headscarf had slipped halfway. Her cracked lips stayed shut. Her eyes looked tired, blank, yet chasing memories no one else could see. She didn't speak. She didn't beg. She didn't even flinch. She just sat there like a forgotten statue of history, untouched by time, ignored by the world. People passed by her like she didn't exist. Some slowed, then sped up. Some whispered. Some crossed the road. She didn't even ask for help. "Who is she?" A schoolgirl whispered to her. "Mom, I don't know, baby. Just keep walking," her mother replied without slowing down. Across the road, Miss Doreen, the woman who sold roasted corn, had her own theory. "I heard her children abandoned her," she told a customer. "Said she refused to die, so they left her on the street. That wrapper she got on ain't even wrapper anymore. It's the new national flag," someone else joked, loud enough to hurt. Rumors flew that she was a retired teacher who lost her mind after her husband passed, that she was an escapee from some rich family who'd hidden her away like a secret. Nobody really knew. But for 3 days, rain or shine, nobody came close. Nobody dared to ask her if she was okay. Nobody. Except Jaden Brooks. Jaden was 16, tall, quick-witted, the kind of boy who could crack a joke while selling roasted peanuts and sachet water. He moved between shops and junctions with a tray on his head and a plastic cooler tucked under one arm. He was the kind of boy who'd shout, "Hot ground nuts, sweet like your ex's regrets," and still smile like he had no worries in the world. But Jaden noticed things others ignored. He noticed her. On the first day, he thought she was just waiting for someone. On the second, he paused longer. By the third, he was angry, not at her, but at the way the world had accepted her silence like she was part of the bus stop design. That evening, after selling almost everything, Jaden returned home and dropped his half-empty tray on the wooden table beside a leaking bucket. His mother was on the floor, slicing okra with one knee bent, a scarf tied tight around her head. "Ma," he said, "there's this old woman. She's been sitting at Southridge Junction since Monday. Same spot, same clothes. Said she forgot her way home." His mother didn't look up. "Boy, don't go starting drama. You don't know that woman. I gave her water today. She told me her name's Miss Lorraine." That got her attention. "You what?" she said, dropping the knife. "You spoke to her?" "Yes." "You went close?" "Very close." She stood up quick. "Jaden, you trying to run mad? You see a woman looking lost, tattered, and your spirit said, 'Start a conversation'?" "She don't look mad," he said calmly. "She looks like somebody who used to matter." His mother crossed her arms. "People who used to matter can still be witches, Jaden. I'm warning you. Don't let pity drag you into a stranger's generational curse." "But she's harmless. And that's how they always look before you start forgetting your own name." Jaden chuckled and picked up his tray. "I'll be back." "Back to where?" she asked sharply. "You better not be planning what I think you're planning." He was already halfway out the door. Back at the junction, Miss Lorraine was still there. Same slab, same posture, same silence. Jaden crossed the road, dropped his tray behind the fruit vendor's stand, and stood in front of her. "Good evening." "Ma," she looked up slowly. "Evening, my son. You remember anything yet?" he asked gently. She offered a weak smile. "Just my name, Lorraine, and my gate. It's black, big. The street is Langston something." Jaden sighed. "Ma'am, every gate in this area is black, and every street got Langston since the mayor's daughter ran for council." She chuckled softly. "A real one. Not dry." Then her face fell. "I thought walking around would help. I thought I'd remember. But now I don't even know what day it is." Jaden glanced across the road. A rusty wheelbarrow leaned against a tired onion seller's cart. "Uncle Stu," he called. "Lend me that barrow for 20 minutes. "Who you carrying? That woman?" the man asked, pointing. "Yes." "Take it. Just bring it back in one piece." Jaden rolled the wheelbarrow toward her, then stopped and cleared his throat. "Your ride is here, Ma." She turned, confused. "My what?" "Your ride," he said proudly, tapping the handles. "Ferrari, premium model, no seatbelt, but I promise no potholes." She looked at the barrow, then at him, and slowly, she laughed. Really laughed. Like something inside her had been tickled for the first time in years. "You want to push me?" "No, ma'am, I want to push you home." Miss Lorraine stared at the wheelbarrow, then at Jaden, then back at the wheelbarrow. Her lips curled into a soft, uncertain smile. "You want to push me home? In that?" Jaden nodded, straightening, his back like a proud chauffeur. "Premium ride, ma'am. Smooth wheels. Built for queens." She looked at him for a long moment, and something behind her tired eyes came alive. She stood slowly, adjusting her wrapper, and said, "All right then. Young man, let's go find my black gate." Jaden reached out and helped her in gently, folding her wrapper away from the rust. He took extra care not to scrape her against the dented sides. Once she was seated, he tightened his grip and pushed forward into the street like he was guiding royalty through a parade. "Let me know if the AC is too much," he joked as he rolled her along. "I can turn it down." Miss Lorraine chuckled. "Perfect temperature. We've got music too. Gospel, R&B, Afrobeat, even old school drums. Just name it." She threw her head back and laughed again, a laugh full of warmth and disbelief. "You're something else, boy." "No, ma'am. I'm employed by destiny." They turned down one street, then another. Miss Lorraine looked from side to side, eyes squinting like someone searching for pieces of a lost puzzle. "Ma, do you recognize anything?" Jaden asked. She hesitated. "Not yet, but it feels close." He sighed. "Please tell me your estate isn't in another county." She laughed again. One more street. On the fourth turn, she suddenly gasped and clutched the side of the barrow. "Wait, stop. This one, this street, I know it, this is it." Jaden looked up. The houses were different here, larger, quieter, the kind of quiet that money buys. The fences were high, painted fresh. The windows had no bars, only beauty. They rolled to the very end, where a massive black gate with golden lion heads stood like it guarded a palace. Miss Lorraine pointed. "That's my house." Jaden stopped, rolling. His mouth opened slightly. This is your house, ma'am? Are you, like, Oprah's cousin?" "Knock," she said calmly. He knocked once, a voice shouted from the other side. "Who's there?" "I brought Madam," Jaden called back. "Which Madam?" The gate creaked open halfway. A security guard peeked out and froze in place. His jaw dropped. "Jesus! Madam! Madam is back." The mansion came alive like a dropped pot of hot oil. Drivers, cooks, distant relatives in expensive clothes pretending to cry. Everyone rushed out. A young woman in a silk robe screamed, "Mama, you're alive! I told them you'd come back." Jaden stepped aside as they swarmed her, pulling open the gate and fussing like headless chickens. Miss Lorraine didn't say a word. Her face remained still, her eyes half-focused, almost detached from the chaos. Jaden wheeled her forward, through the giant iron gate, past the marble lions at the entrance and into the mansion's grand lobby. It looked more like a hotel than a home. Gold frames, glass chandeliers, a staircase that seemed to touch heaven. He whispered under his breath, "Ma, are we still in the same country?" Miss Lorraine smiled for the first time since arriving. When they reached the velvet couch in the center of the room, he gently helped her out of the barrow. She sat down slowly, smoothed her wrapper, and looked at him like he mattered. "What's your name?" "Jaden Brooks, ma'am." She nodded. "Jaden, you pushed me like a king would push his queen." "Thank you." He scratched his head. "It's nothing, ma'am. I don't have anything to give you right now. I left the house with nothing." She paused, then lifted her gaze. But come back tomorrow morning. For what? I want to give you something better than peanuts. A job. Jaden blinked. A real one? Yes. One you didn't even know was waiting for you. He stood there speechless. Then he nodded. I'll come. Come early, she said with a look of certainty. We have work to do. As he rolled the barrow back out, a cook whispered behind his back. Some people push wheelbarrows and meet destiny. Me, I've been mopping floors since 2008 and nothing has located me. That night, Jaden barely slept. After pushing a billionaire-looking old woman into a mansion bigger than a whole block, how could anyone sleep? He tossed and turned on his mattress, the whole ride replaying in his head like a movie. Miss Lorraine's laughter, the golden lions at the gate, the way the security guard screamed like he saw a ghost, and most of all, the part where she told him to return for a real job. A job? Doing what? Holding golden trays, mopping chandeliers. 5:30 a.m., he was up, dressed and ironing his best black trousers with the back of a metal spoon. No light, no excuses. He pulled out his crisply folded red shirt, the one he saved for Christmas, and smoothed the collar like it was armor. By 6:45, he was standing outside the black gate again, heart pounding, shirt freshly tucked. He knocked. Once, then twice. The same security guard from yesterday opened it, this time with squinted eyes and a raised eyebrow. Yes? Jaden cleared his throat. Good morning, sir. I came to see Miss Lorraine. She said I should come. There. Guard looked him up and down. Madam said you should come? Yes, sir. Yesterday evening, after I brought her home. The man folded his arms. Are you family? No, sir. Are you staff? Not yet, sir. But she... Then wait. Outside, gate slammed. Jaden stood there in silence. 10 minutes. 15. Just as he was about to walk away, the gate creaked open again. This time it wasn't the guard. It was a woman. Short, sharply dressed in a navy blue gown with heels that didn't seem to like the gravel. Her wig sat like a crown. Her lipstick screamed, "Don't try me." Good morning, she said, stepping out like she was late for a press conference. Morning, ma'am, Jaden replied. You're the boy that brought Madam home yesterday? Yes, ma'am. She gave him a once-over. You even dressed up? She told me to come, he said. She tells everyone something. She also once said she saw her dead husband baking cookies in the guest room. Jaden didn't know whether to laugh or run. She adjusted her clutch bag. She's expecting you. Come in, but behave. Don't touch anything. Some of these chairs are more expensive than your street. Jaden swallowed his pride. Yes, ma'am. Inside the compound, the mansion looked even shinier than he remembered. The flowers looked hand-painted. The glass sparkled like diamonds. A sleek silver car under the carport gleamed like it was blessed with holy water. He was led to the back patio where Miss Lorraine sat in a cushioned rocking chair, sipping tea like a queen on her balcony. No more dusty wrapper. She wore a fresh lace gown, clean white slippers, her hair neatly packed into a bun. She looked nothing like the woman he pushed in a wheelbarrow yesterday. Good morning, ma'am, Jaden said. She looked up and smiled. Jaden, right on time. I came early, didn't want to miss the job. She chuckled. You're already hired. Jaden blinked. What? I told you. You work with me now. You're my personal assistant. PA? Yes. You'll help me remember things. Follow me to meetings. Keep me organized. Some days we'll walk. Some days we'll sit and watch Judge Judy. We'll figure it out. Jaden scratched his head. Ma'am, I've never been anyone's PA before. Miss Lorraine took another sip of tea. Neither have I. We'll learn together. By 9 a.m., she asked him to follow her inside to her home office. Jaden stepped into a room that looked like a magazine cover. Polished wooden shelves, gold-trimmed plaques, glass awards, law books, 2 smartphones charging on a velvet pad, and a giant wall calendar with nothing written on it. Jaden whispered, Should I help you fill that? Miss Lorraine nodded. Yes, start with today. He picked up a marker and in neat capital letters wrote, Hired Jaden Brooks, PA, former wheelbarrow driver. Miss Lorraine burst into laughter so hard the maid peeped in from outside. You're a funny boy, she said, wiping tears from the corner of her eyes. That's why I hired you. Thank you, ma'am. By lunchtime, she had already introduced him to the rest of the staff. This is my personal person, she told them proudly. Some nodded, some smiled politely. Others stared like he was a stray cat that snuck through the kitchen door. One maid whispered to another, all these street boys, they always find one rich woman or the other. Jaden heard it, but he didn't flinch. He just stood taller. Later that evening, Miss Lorraine showed him a small room in the servant quarters where he could rest, change, and keep his things. She handed him an envelope. Your salary, she said. He opened it. His eyes popped. 50,000 naira? For following you around? She laughed softly. That's small compared to what you'll handle soon. For now, earn it. It had only been a few days since Jaden became Miss Lorraine's PA, but he was already adjusting, like he'd been born for the role. He now carried her handbag without shame, reminded her when to take her medication, helped her count her supplements, and even learned how to sign her name with the confidence of someone who'd studied her signature for years. Every morning, from her balcony, Miss Lorraine would call out, Jaden, what's on my schedule today? He'd respond without missing a beat. 2 phone calls, your green tea, and 1 walk around the garden for vitamin D. Beautiful, she'd reply. You may now proceed to serve me tea. It became their ritual, their rhythm. Some of the staff started warming up to him. Others still looked at him like he was a bad idea waiting to happen. But Miss Lorraine trusted him. Deeply. Maybe more than anyone else in that house. Then came Thursday afternoon. Jaden was in the home office, sorting out appointment notes, rearranging the pen holders, and wiping the desk surface like it mattered, to him personally. That's when the door opened. In walked a woman. Young, stunning, smelling like vanilla, ambition, and money. Her pencil skirt hugged her like confidence. Her heels clapped on the marble like they owned it. Jaden looked up, instantly alert. Hello, she said, smiling sweetly. But her smile felt like it came with terms and conditions. I'm Mrs. Patrice Monroe. I'm Miss Lorraine's personal secretary from the Langston Hills office. Jaden blinked. Oh, I didn't know she had a secretary on the mainland. She doesn't tell everyone, you're new. It's okay. Jaden stood slowly. Would you like to see her? She stepped forward, waving her hand. No. Actually, I wanted to speak with you. To me? Yes. Alone. Jaden didn't like the sound of that, but he nodded politely. She leaned against the desk, the way a cat would lean before pouncing. You seem very close to Madam these days. She hired me. She hires people every month. Most don't last. I plan to. Her smile sharpened. Let me be direct. Madam forgets things. She leaves files lying around, bank details, business shares, signed documents, that sort of thing. Jaden didn't say a word. If you ever come across something important, she continued, stepping closer, bring it to me. There are people who care about her future. You'll be rewarded. He raised an eyebrow. Rewarded? She leaned even closer, lowering her voice. Let's not act naive, Jaden. You're smart. A file here, a signature there, and your life could change. Jaden stared at her for a long second, then smiled. Calm, composed, unreadable. I'll think about it. Good boy. She winked and walked out, her heels clicking like betrayal. Jaden didn't tell Miss Lorraine. He didn't complain. He didn't even hesitate. That week, he found a thick wad of cash on the hallway table. He returned it to her room. He found real estate documents lying open on the couch. He gently put them back into her study drawer. He found nothing odd about doing what was right. But Miss Lorraine, she was watching. She didn't say anything. Not at first. She just observed. 3 days later, she called him into her office. She was in a soft purple gown, glasses on her nose, pen in hand, notepad open. "Jaden," she said. "Yes, ma'am." "What did you want to become in life before that wheelbarrow found you?" He hesitated, then spoke. "I wanted to be a lawyer." Her eyes lifted. "Really?" "Yes, ma'am. Since I was a kid, I love justice. I like truth, and I'm not afraid of arguing, respectfully." She laughed gently. "Perfect traits for surviving my family." He smiled, then looked down. "But school was too expensive. My parents tried, but feeding always came first." She said nothing, only nodded and jotted a note after he left. Jaden thought nothing of it until the following week. A man wearing glasses showed up at the gate with a stack of textbooks and a printed timetable. Jaden was out back, sweeping leaves when the man approached. "Good morning. Are you Jaden Brooks?" "Yes, sir. I'm Mr. Chinedu. I was hired to tutor you. We're starting law prep today." Jaden stared. "Tutor?" "Yes. Madam said to prepare you for university." Jaden stood frozen. Then he turned and marched straight into the living room where Miss Lorraine was calmly reading a newspaper. "Ma," he started, voice cracking. She looked up casually. "Yes, Jaden?" "There's a man outside. Says he's here to tutor me." "Yes," she replied. "He's your lesson teacher. He'll come 3 times a week." His voice dropped. "Why me, ma'am?" She folded the paper with care. "You never asked me for money. You never stole from me. I've been watching. I set traps, fake files, money on the table, and a woman pretending to be my secretary." Jaden froze. "You passed them all? Without even knowing. You reminded me that love isn't about blood. It's behavior. And you, Jaden, have behaved like a son, when all I had were spies and hyenas in designer shoes." He sat down beside her, overwhelmed. She placed her hand gently on his. "You carried me in a wheelbarrow, Jaden, and made me feel like royalty. You made me feel seen, respected, human." Tears welled up in his eyes. He whispered, "I'll try my best." "I know you will." 3 days after Jaden's tutoring began, trouble showed up. Loud, bold, and banging the gate like it had unpaid bills. Jaden was in the kitchen, quietly slicing bread for Miss Lorraine's tea, when a housemaid leaned out from behind the fridge and whispered, "Uncle is here." Jaden paused. "Which uncle?" she whispered again, more urgently. "The uncle, Mr. Leonard." That name carried weight. Miss Lorraine's late husband's younger brother, the man who smelled like arguments and greed. Jaden didn't wait for more. He dropped the bread and slipped out the back door, hiding behind the mango tree. Inside the mansion, Mr. Leonard stormed into Miss Lorraine's private study without knocking. A space that used to be sacred entered, now like it was up for auction. Miss Lorraine sat behind her desk, flipping through her planner. Calm, controlled, glasses on her nose like she had Psalm 91 tattooed in her bones. Leonard burst in like thunder. "So this is what you've turned your life into?" She didn't flinch, didn't even look up. "You're now following small boys around the house?" he shouted. "You've reduced yourself to handbag collector for a street rat? Are you not ashamed?" Miss Lorraine set her pen down. Slowly, deliberately, "I heard you even hired him officially. A groundnut seller? As your PA?" Leonard's voice cracked like dry firewood. "You're still my brother's wife. Behave with dignity." She looked at him, finally, calm as a still pond. "Is that all?" He leaned in, furious. "You're not well. Everyone knows it. You forget things, you talk to yourself. And now you've brought in an outsider into this house full of trained staff and blood relatives. What are you planning? A will? A property handover? What message are you sending?" She leaned back in her chair, the calm now deadly. "This is my house. Not your brother's. Not your grandfather's. Mine." He laughed bitterly. "You think we don't know your plan? You think we can't see through you? You're old. You're sick. You're weak. It's time to let real family take over." She looked him in the eye. I've been living with snakes, staff who spy, maids who report, relatives who count my breaths, but you're their king, the head of the feeding committee. You need help, he spat. Miss Lorraine laughed, not softly, but with full chest. If I was waiting on people like you for help, I would have died and donated my corpse to medical students. Leonard's jaw tightened. This nonsense must end. She stood slowly, voice razor sharp. You hated Ezekiel. You envied him. And now that he's gone, you want what he built. But I built this empire, me and him. You will not inherit what you never touched. He stepped forward, trembling with fury. This house, these businesses, this legacy, it belongs to family. She raised her teacup. Funny, you only remember family when you smell assets. You'll regret this, Lorraine. No, you've been regretting your life since 1991. Don't add me to your problems. He turned and stormed out, knocking over a vase on the way. Glass hit tile. Everyone in the hallway paused to listen. Miss Lorraine sat back down, sipped her tea, and muttered under her breath, "Ungrateful lizard." 2 days later, she sent out calls, one to her lawyer, one to the house staff, one to every vulture circling her roof. She called for a family meeting. The buzz spread faster than a wedding invite. Aunt Rosalind arrived, dressed in full lace and glitter, like she thought this was a traditional engagement. Uncle Vernon came in, a pinstriped suit 2 sizes too big. Cousin Nia brought a fruit basket, hoping to exchange apples for assets. They all gathered in Miss Lorraine's living room, polished floors, glass table, chandelier above their heads, swinging like justice. On a string. Jaden stood quietly by the side, holding her handbag, calm, observing. The lawyer arrived. A tall man in a navy blue suit with a briefcase that smelled like verdicts. He opened it slowly and cleared his throat. Madame Lorraine has called this meeting to formally declare her successor. The person who will take over her personal estate, business interests, and all legal holdings. The room froze. Aunt Rosalind adjusted her wrapper. Uncle Vernon coughed dramatically. Cousin Nia gripped her basket. The lawyer read from the document. And that person is Mr. Jaden Brooks. Silence. 1 second. 2 seconds. Boom! Who? Uncle Vernon shouted. That boy? Cousin Nia stood so fast the basket dropped. You gave everything to a peanut seller? Aunt Glenda screamed. This is witchcraft, this is jazz. Uncle Leonard burst into fake tears. Ezekiel will be weeping in the grave. Jaden stood frozen, eyes wide, soul spinning. Miss Lorraine raised, one hand like a principal controlling noisy children. I said out. They didn't stop. I said, out. Security guards entered. Slippers flew. Wigs shifted. Aunt Glenda was still shouting insults while being carried out like luggage. You'll hear from our lawyers. You'll regret this. You gave it to a stranger? You'll die alone. Miss Lorraine turned to the lawyer. Make sure none of them comes near my gate again. When the house was finally silent, Jaden sank to the floor beside her chair. His body shook. He wiped his face with both hands. Why me? He whispered. I'm not even part of your family. Miss Lorraine looked down at him, her eyes gentle, but firm. You've treated me better than any family ever did. You carried me like I was gold. You gave me dignity. You made me feel like I still mattered. She reached for his hand. I tested you. I planted traps. I watched you. And what I saw wasn't just a good boy. I saw a son. He couldn't speak. His mouth trembled. Say thank you, she whispered. He looked up through his tears. Thank you, Mom. Jaden didn't return home. That day, the same boy. He entered the front door quietly, with shoulders heavier and eyes wide from everything that had happened. But inside the house, chaos had already broken loose. His mother had called their pastor. His younger siblings were near tears. Everyone thought he'd been kidnapped by a politician, sacrificed by cultists, or swallowed by street spirits. Where have you been, Jaden? His mother shouted as he stepped inside. I told you, he said, setting his bag down. Miss, Lorraine told me to come back. She gave me a job. A job? She echoed. To do what? Wash corpses? Sign inheritance? Tell me before I carry my wrapper and follow you back there. Jaden grinned, tired but still amused. She made me her PA. PA as in personal assistant or permanent assistant to madness. 50,000 naira a month. Silence. His mother blinked, then blinked again. Then she adjusted her wrapper and sat down slowly. Okay. Start from the beginning. Was the tea hot or warm? Did you eat rice or swallow? And who ironed your shirt this morning because it looked fresh when you left? Jaden laughed. I ironed it with a spoon. Her eyes widened. Holy Spirit, continue. It had been almost a month since Jaden became Miss Lorraine's personal assistant, and now he moved with the grace of someone growing into his own name. He could now help her tie her scarf when her hands trembled. He reminded her to take pills. He reviewed her daily planner, and sometimes he even helped her laugh again. Some of the staff who once looked at him like he was a stray dog now greeted him with nods. A few still mumbled behind closed doors, but Miss Lorraine? She trusted him completely. She gave him keys. She gave him a voice. And then came the morning that changed everything. Jaden had just finished folding clothes in his room when a knock came on the gate. A man in glasses walked in, holding a pile of textbooks and a printed timetable. Jaden was confused. Are you Jaden Brooks? The man asked. Yes, sir. I'm Mr. Chinedu, your private law tutor. Miss Lorraine hired me. Jaden stood there, frozen. The books looked expensive. The timetable was real. This was not a joke. He ran inside. Ma, he began, eyes wide. Miss Lorraine looked up. From the newspaper, calm, casual. There's a man outside, Jaden said, with books. For me? Yes, she said, flipping a page. You're starting law prep. He'll come 3 times a week. Jaden's voice shook. Why me, Ma? She folded the paper and looked him in the eye. You never asked for anything. You didn't take shortcuts. You didn't lie. You carried me like I mattered. I watched everything, Jaden. And you passed every test. He sank beside her chair. Silent. Moved. I want you to become the man I see inside you, she said. And I'll do everything in my power to get you there. He wiped his eyes. I'll try my best. I know you will. Weeks passed, then months. And just when Jaden was starting to get comfortable with life's new direction, Miss Lorraine surprised him again. He came home from a tutoring session to find her sitting on the front porch with a piece of mail on her lap. She was sipping Zobo like it was Sunday breeze. Ma, what's this? She didn't look up. It's from the university. He opened it, read it, froze. Ma, this is real? Why are you shouting like I forged it? You're going to school. You said law, right? I hope you know how to argue very well. Jaden dropped to his knees. Thank you, Ma. God bless you. She waved him off. Please stand up. We don't kneel for destiny. Go and bring my pepper soup. On matriculation day, Miss Lorraine arrived dressed in lace so sharp the sun flinched. Jaden's mother came too, wearing her brightest jewel like she was entering battle. His siblings behaved like it was a royal wedding. Miss Lorraine held Jaden's hand the whole time. This is my son, she told every stranger who looked twice. The one I told you about, future San, first lawyer in the family. Brilliant boy. When the university's provost asked, "Are you his biological mother?" she smiled. We passed that level. We're on spiritual contract and divine partnership now. Everyone laughed except Jaden. He stood there fighting back tears, trying not to ruin his white shirt. The months that followed felt like a dream Jaden didn't want to wake from. Every day, Miss Lorraine introduced him to new people, important people, board members, lawyers, judges, business executives who only shook hands when deals were sealed. At one high-profile meeting, she called him to the front of the room, placed her hand on his shoulder and said, "This is my son, Jaden Brooks. If I die tomorrow and you don't treat him with respect, your conscience will haunt you into retirement." Nobody laughed. Nobody dared. Her voice still held power, even if her hands had started to tremble. And then, slowly, quietly, it began. At first, it was just small things. She'd forget where she put her keys, call a driver by the wrong name, ask if Jaden had brought her mail, even though she had read it just minutes earlier. Then came the morning she poured salt into her tea and sipped it like nothing was wrong. "Ma," Jaden said gently, "that's not sugar." She blinked, confused. "It's not?" He took the cup from her. She looked away and muttered, "Must be this weather." A few days later, she asked him, "Is it because of this exam that you're not going to school anymore?" He paused. "Ma, I'm still in school." "Oh," she said. "I thought I had a lawyer's son. Maybe I dreamt it." Jaden didn't speak for the rest of the afternoon, but he stayed. He always stayed. He adjusted his class schedule, spent weekends at the mansion, walked her through the garden, read her short stories even when she couldn't follow the plot. And every evening before leaving her side, he'd whisper, "I'm still your son, Mama. I'm here." Miss Lorraine would nod, sometimes confused, sometimes smiling like she'd heard it in a dream before. Then came graduation day. Jaden didn't go straight to the ceremony hall. He first stopped at the tailor, picked up his gown, ironed it with reverence, then walked into Miss Lorraine's room, heart thudding like drum beats in a revival. She was lying in bed, humming a hymn from 1963, staring at the ceiling. Jaden knelt beside her and whispered, "Mama." She turned slowly. "Yes? Are you the doctor?" "No, Mama," he said softly. "I'm your son." She looked at his face, then at the gown in his hand. He gently placed the graduation cap on her head, then draped the gown around her frail shoulders. Her fingers touched the fabric. Her lips quivered. "Your son is now a lawyer, Mama." She blinked, looked at him, then looked away. Then her voice came, thin but glowing. "Ezekiel," she whispered, "our son is a lawyer. I told you. I told you we'd be parents one day. I'm not barren, I'm not a failure, I'm not forgotten." And she smiled, peaceful, fulfilled, free. Jaden's chest swelled with something he couldn't name. Gratitude, grief, honor, all at once. He didn't cry, not then. He just held her hand and whispered back, "Yes, Mama, you're not forgotten." Miss Lorraine lived until the age of 95. She no longer knew what year it was. She couldn't remember where the spoons were kept or how many steps led to the garden. But every morning, Jaden visited. Sometimes she'd ask, "Are you my therapist?" And he'd reply with a smile, "No, Mama, I'm your beloved son." "Oh," she'd say, "I have a son?" "Yes, a kind one." Then she'd nod like that was all she ever needed to know. That's good. It's good to have sons who know how to boil yam, and that's how they lived. Jaden would bring her updates like she still ran the world. "Mama, your son just won a big court case today. Mama, your son donated books to a school. Mama, your son was featured in the papers." She'd nod and smile, sometimes without understanding the words, but always feeling the love, because some truths don't need memory. They live in the heart. After Miss Lorraine passed peacefully in her sleep, Jaden didn't mourn with noise. He honored her with action. He opened several community centers in her name. He funded scholarships. He built libraries where groundnut sellers and wheelbarrow pushers could walk in and dream. He created platforms for boys like him, young, poor, overlooked but full of promise. Whenever people asked why he gave so much, why he always remembered the forgotten, he'd say one thing: "Because somebody once gave me everything," starting with a ride in a wheelbarrow Ferrari. And the world never forgot the boy who pushed a forgotten woman home, only to be pushed into destiny himself. After graduation, Jaden didn't just become a lawyer. He became her lawyer, her eyes, her voice in business rooms, her protector when words started slipping from her tongue. But he didn't stop there. Miss Lorraine personally introduced him to every board member she still trusted. At one meeting, she grabbed his wrist and said, This is Jaden Brooks, my son, my successor. If you ever disrespect him, may your conscience trouble your peace. And nobody dared. Even those who muttered behind polished doors learned to show him the same fear-tinged respect they once showed her. Because in Jaden's voice, they heard hers. In his presence, they felt her legacy rising again. Soon, Jaden's own family became part of her home. His mother began visiting the mansion, always carrying chin-chin or soup in Tupperware like peace offerings. His younger siblings roamed the garden like it was theirs, and Miss Lorraine would sit outside with her rocking chair, telling stories of how Jaden once tried to file documents inside biscuit tins and alphabetize wrappers from the corner shop. They weren't blood, but they were bonded. One afternoon, while sipping ginger tea, she said to Jaden's mother, "You gave me a son I never birthed, and now you have a sister you never expected." His mother blinked fast, quietly touched. "We don't kneel for destiny," she said, echoing Lorraine's own words, and they laughed like women who had lived enough to recognize miracles when they saw them. But while joy grew in the house, so did silence. Miss Lorraine began to forget more often. One day she asked the same question 5 times in 20 minutes. Another day she forgot which house she was in. Jaden adjusted his life again. He took fewer clients, rescheduled meetings, came home earlier, hired a nurse but stayed close, always close. He would read to her every evening, hold her hand, help her walk across the garden even when she forgot why they started the walk. "You're a good man," she'd say. "I had a good mother," he'd reply. Sometimes she called him Ezekiel. Sometimes she didn't know his name at all. But he never corrected her with frustration. He never stepped away. He just stayed. Because he knew. Memory could fade, but love didn't. The day finally came. It wasn't announced with thunder. No warning. No crying nurses, just soft breathing, a soft hymn, and the smell of peppermint oil drifting through Miss Lorraine's bedroom. Jaden had just come back from court. He walked in, still wearing his lawyer's robe, briefcase in hand, when the housekeeper said, "She's still in her room. She hasn't moved much today." He entered quietly. Miss Lorraine lay in bed, her eyes open, staring out the window, but not at anything present. She was humming something, an old church tune from the 60s, off-key, but soft like lullabies. Jaden knelt by her bed. "Mama," she turned. "Yes? Are you the new driver?" He smiled gently. "No, Mama, I'm your son." She blinked, searching his face, then she touched his cheek with trembling fingers. "My son is a lawyer." "Yes, Mama," he whispered, holding her hand. "Your son is a lawyer. Your son is here." She nodded slowly. Her grip tightened just slightly. Then she whispered, "Ezekiel, we did it." Her voice cracked. "I told them we would be parents one day." Jaden closed his eyes. Her words hit his chest like a sunrise after a storm. She wasn't confused in that moment. She was complete. "I'm not barren. I'm not a failure. I'm not forgotten." "No, Mama," he whispered, his voice trembling. "You're not," she smiled. Genuine, peaceful, fulfilled. That was the last full smile. The next morning she didn't wake. Jaden didn't cry at her funeral. He stood tall, wearing his black suit, her gold brooch pinned to his chest. He didn't cry because she hadn't died empty. She left him full of dreams, of dignity, of destiny. He didn't speak in flowery quotes. He just stood at the pulpit and said, "She picked me up from the street with nothing but a wheelbarrow and gave me a life. And now, in her name, I will give that life to others." And he did. Jaden opened centers across the city under her name. The Lorraine Foundation. He built libraries, offered scholarships, created grants for girls in tech and boys who once pushed carts for a living. He donated to hospitals, sponsored orphan students, bought textbooks for schools that hadn't received new ones in a decade. And whenever people asked him why he gave so much, why he remembered those the world forgot, he simply replied, "Because somebody once gave me everything, starting, with a ride in a rusty wheelbarrow that felt like a Ferrari. And so the world remembered Miss Lorraine not just as a forgotten woman at a bus stop, but as the woman who built a legacy through love, through trust, through one small act of kindness returned tenfold. And Jaden? He was no longer just a boy with a tray. He was her son. Forever.